So OpenAI just hired two chief marketing officers, not one, but two. And that should tell you everything about how bad things actually are over there. So, when a company splits the CMO role in half, they're not necessarily innovating. They're admitting to their product has become two completely different brands, and they can no longer tell the same story. So, think of it this way, and I'm going to try to put this in a framework that makes sense to most people. Is OpenAI right now is like a five-star restaurant. Okay, they're like a five-star restaurant that decided to open up a drive-through window on the same block with the same name, the same sign, and now the Michelin inspectors and the dollar menu customers are both confused. They're confused. They're trying to figure out what's the deal here. Are we getting a Michelin star restaurant? Are we getting, am I getting my $5 special? Whatever it is. That's confusing to most people. It's confusing to most consumers who are, you know, proud to traffic your brand, proud to, support your business. People are confused about this place and what it actually is now. So, for example, in January of this year, OpenAI confirmed that they would run contextual ads on free ChatGPT tier. So for everybody that's got, the free tier of ChatGPT, I know you're starting to see those ads pop up at the bottom of the little, search page, and you're wondering, hey, what's going on? What's the deal behind all this? Well, that's what's happening. The same product that enterprise clients are paying for, potentially, $50,000 a year to trust their most sensitive internal data. That's what's happening. So the moment an enterprise buyer sees an ad inside ChatGPT, even on the free version, now, even on the one where everybody's getting it, the psychological contract starts cracking because they're like, "What are we getting out of this? I don't want to see ads." You know, Colin Fleming, the newly scoped CMO of business. This is interesting. He didn't really create this problem, so he kind of just walked into it from day one. So that's kind of how this all starts, and here is the part where every business owner really needs to understand and clearly hear when it comes to this point. This is not an open AI problem. This is not their issue. This is your problem. Yes. And you're wondering, okay, just a different scale. This is, an everyday person's problem now. If we want to continue using this, because on the second that brand tries to serve two completely different audiences, one enterprise and one, regular consumer, we with two completely different value propositions under the same roof, no amount of ad spend in the world is going to save you. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's it's confusing to any user who is trying to get the most out of OpenAI. So in order to make this a little relatable to people, the company, if you're not familiar, OpenAI is the company behind ChatGPT. Okay, they lost their CMO, they lost their COO, they lost their head of product, and several of their senior researchers, all within the matter of weeks. Now, there's for various reasons I won't get into. It's not the point of what I'm trying to, explore here, but they're projecting about $14 billion in losses by the end of 2026. $14 billion in losses. Imagine. And heading towards an IPO at the same time. So that, in itself is concerning. There's a solution. Their solution was to bring in a new CMO, but give them a split title. So you got, CMO of business here, essentially acknowledging that the free consumer product and the enterprise product have grown so far apart that one person can't necessarily market them both and keep a straight face. It's they've separated themselves too far to where this isn't the same type of business product to be promoted. We have to market these completely different now. So, from a business perspective, this is a structural brand crisis. They have introduced ads into the free products that enterprise customers are trusting their confidential data with, and now the whole brand promise is compromised. So, no marketing campaign fixes that. That is a product and a positioning problem where if you think about it, wearing a marketing and position problem wearing a marketing costume. So what that, the overall take is, I've been watching this unfold for a little while now, and I want to be honest, the ChatGPT ad play was going to create some tension regardless. I knew they were going to eventually get there. I knew they were going to start seeing ads when I first started using it. It was just a matter of when, not if. But we're here now, and now they have to figure out how to deal with this moment. The moment you monetize the free tier with advertising, you've changed what the brand means. You've changed what people are expecting. You've changed the whole tone of the overall brand. And enterprise buyers, people who want to spend money so that they can get a higher value proposition, enterprise buyers are not just buying the tool, they're buying the trust, they're buying the security, they're buying the implicit promise that their data is not being used to serve somebody else's ad target. And now that's a concern. So I had a client in professional services, I'll put it that way, not naming names, who made a similar move. And with this move, they built a premium consulting brand, then launched at a discount and self-service to chase more volume. So it was like, okay, we've got this high-level service, but in order to offer it to more people, we've got to offer a diluted version where it's more self-service for people to be able to use our product and services in a way, and so that we can create volume and continue to grow. Same name, same logo, but a different promise. So now their premium clients are going to be asking questions, rightfully so, right? I mean, conversion on the high ticket side dropped because, okay, why do we need to do this if there's a free version offered now? So we ran a paid campaigns to the premium audience, and the cost per lead nearly doubled. And we could see, okay, now people aren't necessarily interested in the, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, high ticket side. It really dropped. So we ran a paid signal with, it was just diluting the value of the paid offering that they originally started with. So now we had to help them draw a hard line between the two offerings, okay? Because now we've got to separate these things into two separate entities, essentially. So before you can run any real ads or do any real work, that's what essentially AI is faced with now. OpenAI, I'm sorry, is staring down right now, except they're doing it with a $14 billion loss and an IPO clock that's ticking as we speak. So, my take on this is that OpenAI seems to be hemorrhaging leadership, which is concerning, of course. I don't think it's all due to, some of the things that I'm discussing here. I know from what I've read, it's, there's other factors involved. But that's okay, so you've got the CMO, you've got the COO, the head of product, and various researchers who are no longer with the organization, all gone within a matter of weeks. But they bought in this, this new CMO, and he's had to scope out what this CMO of business actually looks like, because the consumer side and the enterprise side have done two completely things now. These are two different animals, and this is not a normal executive transition. So from my standpoint, the way I see it is this brand is at a structural crisis. They're simultaneously preparing to go public and facing this crisis, which is, going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds, in my opinion. I think that a lot of people are not necessarily paying attention to this, but there could be larger ramifications down the line, depending on what happens and how that unfolds. With that said, what people are watching in this story, or what they might be missing, is that this is not a marketing failure. It's a product strategy failure. And there's a difference between that. The product strategy failure that marketing has been handed and told, okay, we've got to fix this. And so marketing teams are looking at it like, well, is this really something for us to fix? Because running ads in a free consumer product while selling the same product name to enterprise clients on a trust first pitch is a brand contradiction. I mean, this just doesn't make sense. So no CMO, no campaign, no amount of budget can really bridge that gap between the two. The ads that ChatGPT are not just a monetization type of decision, they are a signal to the market that OpenAI actually values revenue versus an enterprise buyer who needs that trust, and they're reading those signals and they're conflicting. Now they're trying to figure out what the decision to be made here is. All the while, you've got Anthropic and Claude over here thriving. Now, that's a conversation for another day. I'm sure I'll get into that in another video. But, the parallel we see or haven't seen is the exact pattern at the client level. And a business, that might try to serve premium buyers and budget buyers under the same brand, the messaging gets really muddy. That's just what it boils down to. It's hard to differentiate one or the two, and it's going to start to alienate at least one side away from the brand itself. That's the way I see it. It's going to create some sort of alienation, either between the enterprise side or the consumer product side. But some side is going to get alienated as to why things are changing and why there doesn't look like the value is the same. They don't trust the company the same way. And it really throws a wrench into the ability of the enterprise buyer to really trust, okay, are we putting our dollars into the right business? And that's going to be a concern, especially when you're anticipating on doing an IPO here pretty soon. So 9 times out of 10, it's going to be targeting or the creative or the brand promise is contradicting itself before the ad even runs. And then you get into an issue where you're throwing dollars in the trash because you don't have a cohesive marketing message and your positioning is split and your audience doesn't know which version of you to trust. And it confuses everybody to where nobody wants to convert, and you're going to have issues down the line with that. Regardless of what you want to admit, it's going to create some issues that any organization, especially an enterprise focused business like OpenAI, it's really going to create some issues. So before you run another dollar on paid media, and you need to know exactly which audience you're actually targeting, or which audience you're talking to and what you're promising them. And that promise has to be consistent everywhere you go. This is, something that is like marketing 101. A promise, if you're going to make a promise to a buyer or a user or a consumer that is going to be interested in your brand, product, or service, you got to be honest with that and you've got to stick with it. If you see a free version and your paid version, and then you've got your social presence and your website, and they're all telling you different stories and presenting you different ideas and information all about the same business, your ads, and you're paying to expose yourself to create more confusion than necessary in the market. And so when there's that much confusion involved, people are just not going to buy. They're just going to err on the side of caution and avoid buying, or they're just going to go to one of your competitors, i.e. Claude. So take some time to think about how you position yourself as a business. This is broader than just OpenAI. You got to think about this as, somebody who's trying to grow a business, regardless of what size business it is. If you have more than one product offering, if you present your business to enterprise related focus type of organizations, but you also have a self-service, do you present them differently? Are they two different products that you can market separately? But or are you creating confusion between your two markets so that people don't know what they're getting or what the real true value in that is? So look up brand architecture strategy. This is something that I think a lot of people really overlook in the market right now, specifically the difference between a house of brands model and a branded house model. I'll repeat that. Specifically, the difference between a house of brands model and a branded house model. This is very important. So OpenAI is stuck between both and it's costing them. This is what I'm trying to elaborate on. This is what I'm trying to get people to understand is OpenAI is stuck between these two different frameworks, and if they don't make a decision, if they don't find a way to separate these two and delineate them and present them separately, it's going to get really muddy really quickly. Understanding this framework will change how you think about every product and pricing decision you make as a business owner. So this week, do a brand audit across, every touch point of your business and your website, what your actual offer is, your paid offer, your social bio, your ad copy, and ask this question to yourself. Is the promise the same everywhere? If the premium client saw your budget-friendly offer, would it undermine their trust in you? I mean, if the answer is yes, the real problem is the fix is before you even run another ad. You don't want to continue to spread that confusion further. You want to stop and create some clear delineation between those two. And the real question for the comments section, do you think OpenAI can actually pull this off? I mean, before it gets too muddy and you get lost in the quicksand, or is this putting ads on ChatGPT a decision that they can't walk back? I mean, I'm already starting to see it when I open up ChatGPT. I can see the ads and they're there, and I'm sure the businesses that are placing those ads are looking for some sort of ROI to what they're investing in, and and if you run a business, have you ever tried to serve two very different audiences? This is something I've certainly struggled with myself under the same brand. What happened? Can you tell me, how you were able to fix that issue? Is there a way to create a brand that focuses on one enterprise and one, self-serve or consumer-focused offering of your business? OpenAI, they really needed two CMOs to create this, but I think the problem is deeper than just two CMOs because they let the product strategy get so far ahead of the brand strategy that one person couldn't really hold the story of one or the other. They needed literally two different people to tell two different stories. And the lesson for every business owner that I would say needs to hear this is what happens to them is I watch these moments unfold because the marketing layer underneath is always where the real story lives. It's always going to be where it's at. So if you want help making sure that your brand is not telling two different stories at the same time, DM me, reach out to davislegacydigital.com. Happy to help. Thanks.